Hello, everybody out there in YouTube. We are the middle-aged guys, and we bullshit about nothing. I am the Reverend.
The theme here.
Gray Mouse 1.
Valve is the preeminent marketplace for PC games. Anybody who, as much as we go ahead and we rag on digital media and digital distribution or digital-only titles and everything else, I will say this right now. As a service, I absolutely love fucking Steam. I do. I really do. It's a goddamn demon when it comes to my wallet every holiday season. But I love Steam, all right? But that's not to say that everybody is the biggest fans of Valve, okay? It came out that on Thursday, November 17th, that Valve right now faces potentially a $3 million fine from the Australian courts. For breaking Australian consumer law, okay? And this all revolves around their refund policy, okay? What happens was that just a few months back during around March of 2016, Valve Corporation was found out to be guilty as per laws dictated by the Australian federal court, basically for breaching the Australian consumer law regarding its lack of refund policy, okay? Now, anybody who's walked into a retail store here in the States, all right, whether or not it be GameStop, Sears, Toys R Us, or anything else, if you have a game for the longest time, once the seal has been broken, you can't fucking return the thing, all right? It's just impossible, okay? Now, the thing with Australia, though, is that their laws are different. If the item that you have, even if you went ahead and you've used it, if it's been found to be defective, all right, whether or not it's a car, a book, a knife, a tool, or anything like that, then the retailer, it's on them. They have to sit there and be able to honor some sort of reasonable refund policy. All right? Reasonable refund policy. The reason why I say that is because I've worked retail, and a lot of things that customers ask for returns on, a lot of times are not fucking reasonable. That's maybe if we get to that a little bit later, I can touch on that. But, that's probably going to be a story for a conversation for later. But the thing about it was that, up until recently, Valve started actually around the time of Arkham Knight, which was around March, if you think about it. Actually, that was March last year. What happened was that, they started implementing a refund policy saying, look, if you have a game and if you haven't played more than, I think, something like 10 hours, okay, if you haven't logged a certain amount of hours, and if you haven't used the gameplay for something that you use for monetary gain, like streaming for money or putting up reviews on YouTube, and if that's something you get paid for, then you can sit there and you can, ask for a refund, okay? Now, in Australia, if anything is found to be defective, it's up to the retailer or the seller to go ahead and offer a return or refund on it. And that actually, in their eyes, extends all the way to games, all right? You know what? If a lot of publishers had to sit there and abide by Australian laws, this day one patch bullshit wouldn't fucking exist.
Exactly.
That's something I just want to put out there. So Valve was found guilty of this because they didn't have the right policies in place. Or actually, it turned out that they had two different policies that were both confusing. Because of that, they were found guilty of violating this Australian law, and they might be facing a $3 million USD fine based off of that. What are your thoughts, guys?
I mean, okay, all of the purchases from Valve are done online.
Yeah.
So this counts for online purchases?
Man, in the eyes of the Australian court, yes. It includes software. It doesn't matter if it's digital or physical media.
So I got a question. Most of these people bought digital homicide games and they want their refund back?
Well, according to Digital Homicide, that would mean that Valve would have to be fined somewhere around $130 million.
I'm just saying.
They would be looking for $66 million of that, but considering that they don't exist anymore.
I know. I was being facetious there, but when you're doing international business, you should have enough sense to acknowledge and understand international or other countries' laws. You know, I mean, there's certain games that can't be released in Germany. You know, like for example, Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein will never be released in Germany simply because of what the
all the Nazi propaganda and symbols. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you have to understand. I mean, I think Microsoft got in trouble with that for that stuff, but that's neither here nor there. But it's still the same concept that when you're putting stuff out internationally, you should, as a company, understand that country's laws and not try to go around it. But now, on the other side, on the consumer side, or on Valve's side, you know, I kind of feel bad for them because maybe, you know, the customers, you know, maybe they want a refund. I mean, and maybe they, you know, that they just want a refund just because, oh, I didn't like this game. There's no real meaning to it. You know, it's not, you know what I mean? So it's like a double-edged sword, you know. As a consumer, you should have the right to, I guess as a Western culture, you know, from the U.S., we know that once we bust that cellophane on a game, that's it. The only thing that you can do with it now is go to Craigslist or eBay it or Amazon. You know, you're not going to take it back to the retailer. They're not going to accept it. It's just something that our United States, we know the policies.
But now this is about digital.
Well, yeah, I mean,
as well.
Yeah,
just physical media.
See,
Yep.
And that's what's kind of confusing because it's like, all right, that means that every company would have to have certain barriers in place.
yeah. And that just caused confusion for the gamer or the consumer for that. But, I mean, do you really think that if you spend $9.99 for a game that, oh, I play it for 10 hours, let's say for example, No Man's Land was digitally distributed, right, for example. And
you mean No Man's Sky?
The game sucked. No, I'm just saying the game sucked. So
yeah.
I deserve a refund because the game sucked. Again, I guess it goes back to the policy that the video that we made before about that Steam or Valve need to really start scrutinizing, you know, or putting in the more and more details on the game before it's downloaded, you know, on their store. That way people have the knowledge before they buy it. But do you think those consumers deserve a refund after just you know, everybody likes to sell. Oh, this game's on sale. Click, 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 click.
Well, here's where, I mean, here's where it gets really sticky. All right, and I unfortunately I don't know if we can spend that much time on it, but this is where it gets really sticky. The thing with Valve's lawyers is that they said their defense was, hey, look, we know that's Australian law, but we're not an Australian-based company. All right, we're based here in the States and everything else. So we're not sure that your consumer laws, when it comes to this particular thing, apply to us because we're not in your company. That's number one. Number two, the products that they're presenting as far as their marketplace or something like that, the reason why they're faulty and everything else, well, this is like a straight pipeline directly from the publishers who are providing these products. So it's kind of, it's a tough call to sit there and say this is all Valve's fault.
Exactly.
Now, that's the point that I'm making.
Now, where the Australian court sat there and really kind of nailed them with this was that, according to their findings, Valve had multiple versions of their refund policy, all right, two of which would have been applicable in this particular case, and they said that both of them were ambiguous. So it was one of those things where it was like, well, which one actually applies, and is this actually worded in a way where the person doesn't even have an available option for refund?
You know what? What isn't ambiguous nowadays?
Well, actually, if you
seriously, you can't use that as a crutch.
No, yes,
understand.
No, yes, you can. For the fact that if you sit there and you actually print out the end user license agreement that comes with every fucking game that you install.
I know.
It's actually like 30 fucking pages long. All right. Yeah, a lot of the verbiage circles around on itself, but yeah, it's pretty fucking specific. Okay. The same deal also when it comes to this particular thing. It wasn't the fact that Valve. I don't think it was the fact that Valve had like didn't have one in place. It's just the fact that, hey, look, the ones that you have in place, there are multiple versions in place that nobody could figure out what actually fucking applies, and the way that it's worded out, people can't fucking figure it out anyways. You know, that was one of the things that the Australian court really went out of their way and nailed them with. You know,
So what killed them was the fine print, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
But let me ask you
Lawyers.
a question: if this has this went to court yet, and has the gavel hit?
Yes, they've been fined. Whether or not at this moment in time, Valve hasn't announced whether or not they are going to resist and ask for appeal or something like that as far as the judgment and verdict.
So the question I got is this going to open up a Pandora's box?
Yes.
Is this going to open up a can of worms?
Yes.
Or Australia will just be cut off.
Yeah.
I mean, because if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. So what I'm worried about now is that, okay, so the Australian law, so what about the U.S.?
Well, the thing about as far as return and refund policy, as far as that goes, the United States does not have a federal law covering any of that stuff. A lot of that stuff is handled either on a state basis or even more on a locale, county by county basis. Okay, so Australia is just one of those countries where they're like, hey, look, this is our federal law concerning what has to happen during a retail sale.
The thing is, I have to agree with what the theme just said, is that I honestly, I mean, if I was getting sued $3 million to a tune of $3 million, you're cut off. You're done. That's it. Okay, fine.
Because who's to say? Because that's the thing. They wouldn't be able to afford to take that type of chance again.
No, exactly. And you're done. There are no Steam games available in Australia now. Although you do cut off a lot of your fan base, whatever, but is it so you got to think about it.
That's the thing about it. Like you iterated earlier, Wolfenstein is not sold in Germany. So they're cut off from that game, period.
What's funny about that is that they still do get World War II games.
Well, it doesn't have Nazi symbols all over.
Yeah, I know. I've had to do a localization sweep for fucking Germany. Yeah, and it's funny because you're like, hey, look, I don't have to search for bugs. I just have to point them all out. There are swastikas here. Yeah,
I think as a gamer, I will. Yeah, I didn't get a refund. But now, the old saying, be careful what you wish for. And what happened is, okay, so Valve got sued $3 million, and they're not going to take that risk again. They're going to cut you off. Now you're not allowed in Steam. You're not allowed at Steam no more.
Here's the thing about refunds in general is that I don't think they're a bad thing, especially.
No.
Okay, here's the thing. If refunds were still a standard thing within like 2 weeks, no questions asked on every new game, all right, this day one patch bullshit would not exist right now.
Right.
Okay.
Video game rentals.
Well, no, rentals would still exist. Mom and pop rental shops would be fucking thriving. Okay, as far as that goes. But like the day one patch stuff would not fucking exist. All right. A lot of the shit that happened with Street Fighter V not fucking exist. Okay. All right. This you get the real ending in the DLC shit would not fucking exist. Okay.
No, but my point is, you can still rent games.
Yeah, you'd still be able to rent games.
No, you can still rent games now. So for the people that are purchasing them just out of a whim, just because,
my 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 thing though is that there are certain things there are certain issues that you're not going to, especially if you have a life, all right, and you don't have like 48 hours fucking straight to go ahead and dedicate to playing a fucking game, is that there are certain things or sticking points or technical issues that you may not run into, all right, during your rental period, okay.
You know what?
And even then, if you do, when you sit there, you're like, oh, I fucking rented the game. Now I know I'm not going to fucking buy it. All right. But that's a much different scenario than going out of your way and saying, hey, I'm going to hand you $60 of my hard-earned fucking cash plus fucking tax. Okay.
Yeah, people do that before games come out.
You know.
The thing is, though, look,
Yeah.
I'll take through that. The only way that I would, especially in mom and pop stores, I mean, if you buy something digitally, you kind of overwrite the common sense thing. It's basically like if you buy a physical media and you take it home and there's something physically wrong with it, it's not working. You open it up and it's not working. Yes, I agree 100%. I want a refund on that.
Yeah.
Just like, for example, Halo 4 for you, Theme. How many copies of that game did you have to get before you finally got a working copy?
Yeah.
So, but digitally, a digitally signed game or a digitally downloaded game, you kind of it's kind of a little different because you're downloading it. There's no physical media, so you can't really complain. You already know going into it.
Yes, you can.
Little game.
No, look,
You know
man.
what I'm saying? I mean, it's going to work. Whether it's a shitty game that has fucked up controllers or whatever, you know, like
there's no guarantee that it's gonna work. All right, look, as much as I love Steam, I will tell you from experience that over half the titles that I've played on Steam in my library that I've actually installed and started to play, over half of them I've had to sit there and scour through the Steam community forums in order to find out how to fucking manually fix bugs that they don't have patched out, okay? Or how to sit there and get games just fucking running on my fucking rig, okay? And that is, you know, that is something that I've had to that I've had to do years before they even gave the refund policy. All right.
What about if this was? This is the thing. What about if this was physical media?
Yeah.
What about if someone from Australia bought something and it had to be shipped there? How different would this be?
You know,
asking for a refund.
Here's the thing with that.
Abiding by their laws.
Here's the thing with that. Again, we're looking at like reasonable refund policies, and what got Valve was their refund policy. Okay, they had multiple versions and they were ambiguous.
They probably had to have multiple versions for shit like this, for like multiple countries and stuff.
But look, if you're like an online retailer and you say, hey, look, I've got a 1 month return policy if I ship it out to you. Okay, if it's fucking defective, you got to ship it back. Then I'll refund you the shipping. It's just got to be shipped quick enough. All right. The thing is that it doesn't matter what fucking country you're in. If I've got a 30-day fucking refund policy and it's clearly worded out, Australian fucking law or not, if you're trying to ship it back in 3 months later, you're fucked. That's just how it is.
Well, the thing is, what really gets me is this: the ambiguous language.
Yeah,
is what killed them. You know, and for one thing too is if you put ambiguous language in your policies, like I used to sell on eBay, you know, and I listed out from A to Z. But there are some sellers who make an ambiguous little statement, this, and this. I mean, you know, it kind of gives you an idea of what the product is. You know, if I see something that I want to buy on eBay that has something really, you know, that's really ambiguous verbiage about returns or whether or not the machine or that item works, I'm just going to move on to something else.
Now, I guarantee you either Australia's going to be cut off or Steam is going to be like all sales are final.
No, I'm pretty sure Steam is going to sit there. Valve is going to go ahead and resist the verdict. They're going to try to argue the fine down. and then they're going to sit there. They're going to pay their lawyers a little bit extra to go ahead and reword their refund policy because they don't want to lose the potential sales for a whole fucking country.
Again,
because they'll make back that $3 million in one fucking holiday sale. Easily.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that. It's just the fact that, you know.
Good point.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that this is happening is the issue that we have, you know,
Yeah.
that I have. This is just ridiculous. It really is.
You know, and as ridiculous as it is, this isn't any different than what people had to sit there and deal with going to used car sales lots.
Yeah, it's nothing new.
Yeah, that's another discussion altogether. So let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Really, folks, if you stuck with us all the way up until the end, what are your thoughts on this? Is Valve screwed with this? Are they getting the shaft, or is this completely right? Are these Australian consumers and government completely right? We want to hear that. Leave us a like, leave us click on subscribe while you're at it. Okay, we are the middle-aged guys. Our bullshit ends here. I am the Reverend.
The theme here.
Gray Mouse 1.
Once again, for the benefits of common sense, logic, and gaming, and getting sued. Damn Australian law. Hope you guys don't get cut off. Valve, yeah, fix this shit. Credits.